Hello, and welcome to another episode of The End of the Search. This one I call it Suffering for Animals. And it's based on a question somebody asked. And the question is, Hi Nick, I wanted to ask you about something I have not gotten around to discussing yet. I don't know if you've mentioned it in your videos, or if you have already addressed it, could you tell me which video it is? Currently, one of the greatest pains I can feel is knowing about animals suffering. This has led me, for example, to adopt an abandoned dog and to walk dogs that the neighbors don't walk. These actions are mainly to alleviate the pain more than anything, sacrificing other things I want to do. A few years ago, my 12-year-old dog died. It is the greatest pain I've ever felt. Because of this, I didn't want to have any more dogs, especially since my life is very busy in terms of activities and walks. However, when I learned about this dog, it was impossible for me to abandon her. What I do believe is that God sent her to me, and I accepted it. What I would really like is to stop worrying about mistreated dogs, as it's something beyond my control. I would be grateful if you could shed some light on those issues. Thank you in advance. Okay, you may say, why do you address questions like that when these videos are about non-duality and the nature of our being? Well, the reason is this person had a session with me, so we had a conversation, and he seems to know about all this nature of our being and non-duality. Interestingly enough, this is a very touchy subject for that person. There's somehow a strong affinity there. So what the mind does, you see, when there's identification with this seeming individual, what the mind does or thought would do is that it still leaves some room for doubt, Okay, I get it. I understand what the message is about. But how about this? Assuming that maybe this particular scenario, or whatever the case may be, may not apply to what we're pointing to here. See? So the issue here is not how, like the person says, I would like to stop worrying about mistreated dogs. The issue is not about how to stop worrying about mistreated dogs. The issue is, who am I? You see? Because when we're pointing to the fact that I am, which is presence, that in itself takes care of any distractions that point the attention outward. You see? In other words, that question about mistreated dogs is no different than any other question that somebody else may have about something else. Why do I love cars so much? God, why am I feeling attracted to this type of people and not to these ones? Why do I enjoy so much living on the beach instead of living on the city? Why do I see all these questions? It doesn't matter what the question is always related to the me. Do you follow? And that is why, again, situations like that, when there's a strong feeling, a strong sensation, well, the mind somehow wants some sort of resolution, but doesn't want resolution in order to recognize the nature of my being. It wants resolution to keep holding on to the sense of identity, but more comfortable. You follow? Feelings, sensations appear. It's like saying I want an ego, meaning a separate identity, but a much comfortable one. And then in the world of appearances, some people have affinity about the animals, some people may have affinity about the environment, some people may have affinity about the plants, some people may have affinity about whatever the case may be, but it doesn't matter what the situation is. The bottom line is that as long as I believe that I'm this separate entity, then all conditioning will be attached to this seeming me. Do you follow? But what we're doing now is that we use every scenario that are presented with to bring again the attention back to presence. And there's not an attention that you bring to, but I don't know what language to use. It's a limitation of words. Right now, all that there is presence. Ever presence. This is it. Now, in this is it, in this, feelings appear, sensations appear, thoughts appear, images seem to appear, and yet I remain as I am. If that investigation is not really made, then of course, I mean, the tendency is always to bring the attention outward. And in this case, he has a strong affinity about dogs. There's a lot of feelings, sensations that are related to that, feeling, whatever the case may be. But all of that has to do with the character, with the person. It has nothing to do with consciousness, with truth. Do you follow? So, in his case, he tells me this particular story. Okay, I can tell you stories in my life as well, so I'm pretty sure you can tell me plenty of stories about yours. But the scenarios, the stories are completely irrelevant to where this is pointing to. You see? Now, as you rest in the I am, which is, notice how life unfolds. Meaning that in his case, he has a natural inkling to, to help animals or something. Great. What's wrong with that? You see? It's the feeling underneath that is attached to the story that the mind is making up about this particular situation. This being doesn't turn you into a cold person at all. If anything, what rises through you is compassion. Compassion doesn't carry guilt, doesn't carry suffering. It's simply a natural extension of the fact that I am, and this compassion allows you to recognize where everyone stands when they forgot who they are. In this case, of course, animals are simply animals. They don't think the way we do. He may think that the animal is suffering because it's abandoned, but the animal is experiencing just hanging around. If he's hungry, he wants to eat. If he's cold, he may want shelter, but he doesn't feel I'm a victim because I've been abandoned. You see, these are thoughts that the human being plays on animals. The animal is just being animal, and again, if I'm comfortable, great. If I'm not comfortable, you see? But it's not judging or translating its experience as human beings do. You see? So all the suffering is all his own interpretation that is now being projected onto an animal. You see? Well, what we do is that we work on noticing how thoughts appear, how feelings appear, and then we just rest in beingness, because this is where this is pointing to. You look at Ramana Maharshi, for example. Ramana Maharshi was very compassionate to animals. I mean, cows, they said that they would just lean next to him and everything, and he would pet them. That was pure compassion. That was pure love. But there was no suffering there. There was no pity, because he knew who he is, or he was, Your consciousness, your everything. And in the everything, all of this appears. So the compassion is when you realize that the suffering that people are having is because they don't know who they are. So as you know who you are, then you can see why people suffer. Because they believe they are that character and they're believing their thoughts. Well, in this case, with the animals, now you know that the suffering is because you're believing your own thoughts about this particular animal. If you don't believe your thoughts about this particular animal, again, that doesn't turn you into a cold person. If compassion leads you to adopt the little dog, great, beautiful. This dog is going to have someone that loves her so much. That's beautiful. That's awesome. Great. You see? But once again, The issue here is not what you're doing with the dog or not. The issue here is, who am I? That's where this is pointing to. And this is not a question that you ask to find an answer. That's why I got to be careful with these words. Right now, as presence, beingness is the most important thing in your life, then all of these other details cannot take care of their own. You see, because on one end you may say, well, I want to deal with not feeling sorry for dogs, but on the other end, there's a lot of things that you still want to do, that you still desire as a human being, as an individual. You see, you're still holding on to the sense of identity, but these are the parts that you don't like. So it's like somebody who's sleeping and dreaming, and he says, I want to wake up from the dream, but I don't want to let go of these particular scenes in it. You see? I want to let go of the painful ones, but not the pleasurable ones. Well, but if you want to wake up from the dream, you have to let go of everything. You see? And these videos are pointing to the essence of being. It's not about, I like these parts of the dream and not these ones. This is about true peace. The real peace that is treasured more than anything else, while you find yourself doing activities. But in the end, it doesn't matter what activities, what thoughts can come up, everything is put on a shelf saying none of that is going to be an obstacle to what I truly want. What I want is what I am in anything. So I don't want that, I already am. So you rest in this. And then life will throw experiences, and some of them you will enjoy, but once they are enjoyed, you rest in this. Actually, you rest in beingness while you are enjoying those experiences, because you're not making them anything special. Do you follow? So it's not like right now I am being, my dream is to go to Europe and live in Europe. No. You're being, and that's it. And then when this feeling of being in Europe happens, you see it as a thought that means absolutely nothing. And you know that if you're supposed to live in Paris, I'm using Paris as an example, but to you could be Tahiti, or to be, South America, or be whatever. But when that comes up, you see it, but that doesn't distract you from the peace that I am. You see? And the mind or a thought will come up. That means that you will not get a chance to do the things you want to do. No, whatever you're supposed to do, you will do. If the thought appears to you to do something, you will find yourself doing it as a very natural and organic movement, not as something that you want to do to satisfy some kind of a wish. Because again, when we think that we want all these things, in reality is because we feel that those things are going to make us happy. Meaning that I am not happy, consequently, once I get that, then I'll be happy. You see? But once I already rest in beingness, in this case, he may have a sense of identity that doesn't realize, and he wants to hold on to that. But when you're willing to drop all of it, then just watch life unfold. And if I'm supposed to be in Paris and living in Paris, that'll be part of the next part of the play. But Paris is no better than this moment here. You see? No matter if you color it with whatever, it makes no difference. I am here. I am. And this is all this is pointing to. That's it. And let's put it to the test to see that this is not theory. I'm not interested in just giving you information so you can go ahead and learn it and try to... No. This is right now. That whatever the case may be, whatever may be happening in your life, whatever feeling, sensation may be coming up right now, take a deep breath and just be. You're being anyway, okay? So it's not like you're going to be, but again, limitation of language. Right now. Being. Just being. Resting in being. It's not the person that is resting in being. It's just the pure resting, pure being. This is all the rest of it. Right now. Don't identify with any thoughts. Let them be, but that's fine. Even the fantasies of I wish I was somewhere else, I wish I... No, just let all that go. Just be right now. You see? And again, it's not that you're trying to let it go. Again, limitation of language. I'm trying to do the best I can, but I'm pointing to this right now. Right now. This beingness, without the interference of the mind. What is? Existence, you see? Well, you are existence. You are it. This is it. This is the message. And notice if existence have any worries. Notice if existence feels any pity or any sorry for anything. Notice if existence wants something or needs something. No, existence just is. Well, this is where this is all pointing to. And now you use every scenario that seems to be a distraction to remain as existence. And this is it. And as this becomes crystal clear, I don't know exactly what words to use, now just watch life unfolding. Life is unfolding. And now questions, how do I let go of the feeling of this or that? I don't know. You don't have to be concerned about any of that. You just need to be. And in the beingness, notice how life moves you. Something needs a resolution, you'll see how life moves you to that. A desire to do something or to experience something appears. Well, if it comes from life, life will take care of all the details for that to take place. But you don't let the mind running with the narrative of what does it mean or you know. No, it is what is. And now your presence, you see, that's what I'm pointing to, presence, pure presence. You're resting in presence because you are presence. You see? Notice that you don't have to do anything to be presence. You don't have to go anywhere to be presence. You are presence. You are being. You are beingness. Right now, this is it. Look, this is the most obvious thing. It's just so easily overlooked. A feeling, a sensation, the mind translated. What does it mean? A thought appears, and all of a sudden, all of it's happening in presence, interestingly enough, but look how presence is being overlooked. And you rest here again. Back. See? You rest here. And all the activities are taking place in it, in that presence. That background stays with you, that fragrance stays with you always. The fragrance stays with you while you're walking the dogs. I'm talking about this particular individual. While he adopted a dog, while he do whatever he does, but this presence, you see, that's what it is. And when you rest in that, when that resting happens, then this idea that I am doing this because of the pain, because in reality there's other activities I'd rather do. No, you just watch life unfolding. In his case, he's supposed to do what he's doing, but as of this moment, maybe now as he rests more in presence, well, maybe he keep walking the dogs because something he likes to do, or maybe he stop walking the dogs and do something else, or do all the activities he talks about. But again, that is irrelevant. Because now you are your presence. Maybe a lot of activities has to do with trying to, again, to fulfill a need, to fulfill a lack. But when you're resting in presence, maybe a lot of those activities are no longer necessary. And the walking the dogs comes from, again, from this joy of doing that as opposed to an obligation. But again, we don't have to get into all those details. We just keep it simple. Use every experience right now to rest here, presence. That's it. Stay here. This is it. And that's what these videos are about. To remind you of what has been overlooked. This is it. This is all there is, and you rest here. You see? And now just watch the play unfold as it will unfold anyhow. The difference is that you're now living it as opposed to suffering it. And well, this is inspiration that came through. I hope it served. And as always, may peace permeate the mind so that love can become evident.